It bounces around.
Bounces around. It's,
Welcome to Heidamath NCAA Football Predictions Week 14, the last week of the regular season. Missed last week, I wasn't feeling well. This week is rivalry weekend, so we got a bunch of rivalry games going on. I want to start by saying this week we are recording from Overland Hills Church, the new edition. So we're in the lobby of the new edition. We had our first worship service yesterday. So it's been Office. James, you want to comment about it or not?
Sure. Well, it's just been 3 years in the works. Lots of work has gone into it, and we're sitting here in the lobby coffee area, and we invite you all to come join us next Sunday morning at 10:15 a.m. It's a beautiful space, and we're looking forward to using it and enjoying it for many, many years to come. So we're very thankful to open it up the Sunday before Thanksgiving. God has been very good to us, and we have much to thank Him for. So it's great to be here with you, Jeff.
I agree. Awesome. Okay, we're going to start this week by discussing the American Athletic Conference and my stress and frustration associated with same. Navy has a chance to play in the conference championship. If Navy plays in the conference championship, they don't have that week off to prepare for the Army offense. The Army offense is different than anything they've seen all season. It's a lot like their offense, but it's different than everything else. The first time Navy lost in a very long time was after they played in the conference championship. So there is a part of me that does not want Navy to play in the conference championship. So my picks today will be in line with that. So the first game that we're going to pick, Cincinnati, 10-1. They're also undefeated in the American Athletic Conference East, playing at Memphis, also 10-1. They have one loss in conference. Navy also has one loss. So if Memphis wins, they play in the conference championship. If Memphis loses and Navy wins, then Navy plays in the conference championship. So in line with having that bye week, so Navy has a better chance in the Army-Navy game, I am picking Memphis.
Okay. Well, Jeff, I think you have officially over-engineered the first pick just a little bit. You have thought that out quite well in the way that you want this game to go in your favor for Navy somewhere 2 weeks down the road. I commend you. You've put in all the extra homework. I'm going to just simply say, I think Memphis is going to win it. It's a great battle between two top 20 teams. The American Athletic Conference doesn't get a lot of national attention, but when games like Cincinnati and Memphis come down to 10-1 teams, I think it's going to be a great game, and I think Memphis, I think they'll win it, but I don't think it will be a blowout. I think it's going to be one of those back and forth, shoot 'em up, shootout type style games. So I'm going to stick with you on the Memphis, but maybe not for all of the same reasons that you're cheering for Memphis.
I might actually have a Memphis brisket sandwich, Memphis style.
Well, now I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
That sounds like a good thing.
I'm all about meat.
Okay, second game, Navy 8-2. It's going down to Houston. They're 4-7. So of course I pick Navy, and there's about this much of me that if Memphis loses, that means Navy win puts them in the conference championship. I'm still going to root for Navy. I want Navy whether Memphis wins or not. Navy is going to go down to Houston, and their triple option with the ability to occasionally throw a pass. I don't know if you've watched Navy, but they actually, in their first game this year, they surpassed the total yards passing last season in the first game. It was 132 yards, so it wasn't big, but it was big for Navy. So I picked Navy by a touchdown.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you're sticking with your heart, going with Navy. I think your heart and head are in the right place. But you talk about the Navy passing attack, as it were. Reminds me of something our Husker friends would appreciate. Tom Osborne once said, when you pass the ball, there are only three things that can happen, and two of them aren't good. So maybe Navy is kind of going with the throwback, slowing down their passing attack. But either way, I don't think they're going to have a problem with Houston. I think they're going to roll Houston, and we'll see what happens in the Cincinnati-Memphis game. But hey, I'm Navy all the way until they play Air Force next year. But that's not what we're talking about today.
They're playing at Air Force, and I hope to be at that game.
Well, that would be terrific.
More about that later. And as in later, not this season, next season.
So we're 2 for 2. We both we're on the same page here,
right.
Memphis and Navy.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done the American Athletic Conference. Now we're moving on to Texas Tech, 4-7, going down to Austin to play Texas, 6-5. Who do you pick?
Well, it's been a disappointing year in the state of Texas for football. There were high hopes for Texas. I think even one of us may have picked Texas to be in the playoffs this year, Jeff.
That was me. No longer.
No
longer.
So for the sake of my Longhorn brothers out there, Statty and Chris, you know who you are. I'm going to go with the Longhorns. I'm going to say that they wrap this one up, and I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's not one of those old-fashioned Texas shootouts, but an ugly win is a win. So Texas.
Okay, I would agree with you, Texas. I did pick them at the beginning of the year to make it into the college football playoffs, but as we have seen all season, if you live in Texas and play football, you have, let's just say, underperformed expectations. If you saw a Cowboys game, you know what I'm talking about there. The good news is, in this game, a team from Texas is going to win.
Yes.
I'm going to pick Texas, the shorter name.
Good.
Now, let's move on to the next game, Ohio State versus Michigan.
I'm telling you, this is a hard one for me to pick.
There's a lot of emotion. This is a rivalry, and they're playing in the big house.
They, I see
Go
a
ahead.
theme developing here.
Go ahead.
This is always one of the hardest ones because growing up as a Iowa Hawkeye fan, which I will not let bias any of my picks today, okay?
Absolutely.
But growing up, black and gold, Iowa Hawkeye fan, you just grow up hating both of these schools. Well, they're teams, not the schools. You know, it's hard to cheer for Ohio State and Michigan. Seems just, but somebody's got to win this particular game. And I'm going to say,
and only one team can lose.
And only one team can lose. That's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing. We don't do ties anymore, and that would have just really thrown some chaos into the playoffs, which is kind of my growing theme for this year. Ohio State and Michigan. Here's the deal. I think this could be. Here's a bold prediction. This could be Harbaugh's last game at Michigan.
No more khakis in the big house?
No khakis in the big house. If he does not solve the mystery that has been the Ohio State Buckeyes, I think they might Frank Solich him.
So
he could win
9-3
games,
season, and he's out.
and they could toss him. I'm just saying, you heard it here first, or maybe second. I don't know. But here's the deal.
Following in the footsteps of Nebraska,
Yes.
Michigan.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Here's my pick. I'm going to pick Michigan. Michigan beats Ohio State, and I'm going to say they do it convincingly. Chaos in the playoffs.
And the college football playoffs would be upended. I think the juggernaut that is Ohio State, I don't see how they can lose the game. Obviously, they can lose the game, but with their consistency and the quality of players that they have, I think Michigan's going to come out strong.
Yeah.
And then Ohio State is going to steamroll them. And I'm going to say 3 touchdowns. I think it's going to end up being a blowout. And more people will look at Ohio State and say, maybe they should be number 1 over LSU.
That would be a statement game. That would definitely be a statement game.
So we disagree on that one. But I also kind of agree that it would be okay if both lost.
Yeah.
Just,
you know, you're talking about Ohio State and a blowout. I just happened to watch on YouTube the other day the 2017 Iowa-Ohio State football game.
and who won that?
You have to check it out.
Oh,
Watch
okay.
it. A certain team scored 55 large on
Wow.
the mighty Ohio State Buckeyes. So,
Wow.
great game. But anyway,
So
I'm
they
going
only lost
Michigan.
by 5?
No, it was a blowout. 55-24, if memory serves.
Okay. Next game, Alabama 10-1 at Auburn 8-3. What do you think?
Well, I think Alabama, without Tua, we don't know what they're going to be. They didn't really play anybody of stature last week.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, Auburn's going to give them a test. Auburn will be up for the challenge. They always are. And so I'm going to pick Auburn. I'm going to pick Auburn to pull the upset. And I think it'll be a close one. I don't think it'll be a shootout, but I'll pick Auburn by a touchdown.
I picked Alabama to go undefeated and win the college football playoffs at the beginning of the year, and then they lost to LSU. So my hopes and dreams in a football game, which larger scale of things in life, hopes and dreams of football, not a big deal as we sit here in the new edition of Overland Hills Church. Faith, family.
It puts hopes
body
and
of
dreams in
Christ.
football in proper perspective,
So
doesn't it?
in context, I'm a little disappointed that Alabama is not undefeated. I really feel bad for Tua with the injury.
Yeah.
I don't care what team you play for. I do not like injuries, and I specifically have not watched that play where he got injured. And those of you that know my orthopedic history, you'll understand why I didn't watch that. But I think Alabama will beat Auburn. I think it's going to be a great SEC battle. I think it'll be a great game to watch. Might be the best game of the weekend.
Maybe, sure.
Except when Ohio State crushes Michigan. That might be fun too.
Yeah.
But I pick Alabama in a good game. Okay, 2 games left. Army, 5-6, is going out to Hawaii to play the Warriors. They're 8-4. And this is a Saturday, 11 p.m. game, Central Time. So it's midnight for the Cadets. So they're going to play a game at midnight. What do you think?
Well, that is a huge home field advantage. We had the privilege, actually, my wife and I, of going to Hawaii this past summer for the first time ever. And the travel was no joke. And if you're not used to that, you'll definitely need some time to acclimate. That being said, I don't think if Army was playing Hawaii at Army, they would have much of a chance. So I'm going to say Hawaii wins, and they win big.
Okay. I want to know if Army traveled in military transport aircraft in the webbed seats, facing backwards in the 30-degree cold of an Air National Guard C-130
Right.
or so. They probably didn't. They probably traveled.
But they,
in
let's both
comfort.
confess that if they did, they would have built character.
Yeah. Oh,
So
absolutely.
if you do it the hard way,
Yep.
there's character to be had.
There's the easy way and there's the Army way. I know people in the Army, so I can say that. I'm not going to mention your name, William. Okay, I'm going to pick Hawaii as well. I want to pick Army. I'm going to root for Army, but they've traveled and they just
Yeah.
they have underperformed this year as well, which as a Navy guy looking forward to a game in a couple of weeks, I'm excited about that, but ultimately the Army-Navy game would be best if 2 undefeated teams
Right.
entered the field of play and Navy won by 32 points at the end of that, or whatever. But of course, it always ends with Navy wins. But I root for Army as much as I can. I'm not going to stay up and watch this game, but if I did, I would root for Army, but I still expect Hawaii with their passing attack.
Yeah.
And Army has the same motto as Navy, especially in the secondary. We may be small, but we're slow. And I think that is going to allow Hawaii, with their passing game,
Yeah.
to just put up a lot of points and put up a lot of points quickly.
Yeah. Do they make bumper stickers? We may be small, but at least we're slow.
We could.
We could do that.
We could do that.
All right.
Okay. Last game, we have to do a little setup for the last game. This is like Lee Corso with the.
Yep.
Which one are you going to do?
I had an old Iowa football helmet, like a stocking cap helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't find it. I think it may have gone the way of the Goodwill. Oh, you came prepared, man. Check you out. This guy's gonna stand up proud here, buddy. Act like you want to be there. All right.
Last game, Iowa 8-3. Are they ranked right now?
Yes.
Higher than Nebraska?
I'd have to check where Nebraska ended in the receiving votes category after their monster win over Maryland last week.
Yeah, Nebraska. Are they triple digits? I don't know. Okay, Iowa 8-3 at Nebraska. They're coming to Memorial Stadium. Nebraska's 5-6.
Yeah.
Who do you pick?
Well, Nebraska's a strong 5-6.
Oh
They're
yeah, that's
a stealthy 5-6.
that's like saying a tall 5-2.
It's a very tall 5-2. Nebraska, they had their breakout win last week against Maryland. Scored 54 points, and
They shouldn't have
played
used
some
up all those
defense.
points last week. They should have saved
Well,
some for this week.
the Hawkeye in me says, oh, maybe they used up all their points. But honestly, they're Scott Frost is the real deal. I mean,
He is.
He's got a long-term plan and a great guy, and I would cheer for him any other week of the year. But yeah, Nebraska last year, it came down to a last-minute field goal in the Iowa-Nebraska game. Iowa winning to make it 4 in a row. This year, boy, it's at Nebraska, and Nebraska is soaring high. Jeff, I might have to pick the Huskers this year.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Hawkeyes by 20. Woo! Go Hawks!
Okay.
Yeah.
My turn to pick. So I live in Nebraska.
Yes.
I'm a Nebraska transplant.
Yep.
The Missouri River is flowing right here. So I'm going to do a Coach Corso. You have 2 hats. I live in Nebraska.
Yes, you do. Your children live in Nebraska.
And I really support Scott Frost.
Yes, good Scott. Good
But
Scott.
I have to go with the Hawkeyes this year. How much did you say by?
I said by 20.
I'm going to say 14.
14? I'll
But
take it.
I think they'll win, and I think it'll be convincing. So that's what we're going to do for this game.
It's Iowa, Nebraska. You could win a game like 3-2, and it still counts as
You
a
could,
win.
yep.
So, go Hawks.
Okay, so we just have a little bit of business left.
All right, yes, this is important business.
The college football playoffs.
Yep.
Alabama, my top pick, not in it. Texas, one of my picks, not in it.
Yep.
Ohio State, Clemson, still in the running. What 4 teams do you pick?
My 4 teams are very similar to yours, but sticking with the theme, chaos in the playoffs.
Right.
I'm going to follow me on this scenario, Big Ten guys here. Minnesota gets to the championship against Ohio State, beats Ohio State. Do they go to the playoffs?
Oh, they lost to some second-rate team. I
don't think so. I think they do. I think Minnesota.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go LSU, Minnesota, Clemson, Georgia.
Okay. I think Ohio State's going to win out. I mean, they're too strong. So LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, and Georgia.
All comes down to that Big Ten champion.
It comes down to the Big Ten championship, the SEC championship, but you know what it doesn't come down to?
Texas.
Well, it doesn't come down to the Big 12 championship.
No.
It doesn't come down to the Pac-12 championship. It doesn't come down to the ACC championship.
No.
Although the American Athletic Conference, we've already talked about that championship game and the emotions that I have with that. So we just have one more piece of business that we have to deal with today.
Right.
So we're talking predictions.
Okay.
We're talking the future.
Future.
The Nationals just won the World Series. So I came prepared to predict the World Series champions for next year.
Yes.
And I don't just have a hat.
Oh, I like the way you think, Jeff.
Brought, if I can even get it out here, my
this
Cubbies blanket.
Is my happy place right there. Go Cubs. 2020 World Series champs. You heard it here first. We called it.
Yeah, but don't you say that every year?
Yeah,
And you were right.
Every year.
And you were
and I
right.
was right in
Yeah,
2016.
this
I
hat
sure
proves
was.
it. There we go.
I sure was.
Okay. Enjoy the game. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanks, guys.